In this video, we'll be talking about objects and classes, and it's very exciting because it is the first step towards learning about object-oriented programming. Now let me tell you about objects, and then let me tell you about classes. Classes are a construct that allow us to create our own custom types, and then objects are an instance of a class. So whenever you're thinking of classes, you can almost think about them as blueprints, as templates, and then objects are a creation that come from those blueprints and templates. And you can only have one blueprint, but you can have many creations that come from that blueprint. So in other words, you can only have one class for many objects that come from that class, right? You have only one blueprint and then many creations that come from that blueprint. For example, think about the console class. Remember the one that we're using in order to get an input from a user and then also to print things out into the console? Yes, console is a class that we have been using, and it has many predefined methods on it that belong to that class. Let's go ahead and create our own custom type. I will go ahead and open up Solution Explorer, then right click on Simple Calculator, go to Add, New Item, and select Class, and then name my custom type or my class. I will say Person, and then just click Add. And here we go. Let's open up Solution Explorer again, and you will see that we have a new file because we have added a new class. And here it is. Let's go over the formatting. First, we have the reserved keyword class, then we have the name of the class. It can be anything you want because it's your own custom type, but what you want to do is you want to make it very descriptive. And then we have the body of our class, which goes in between the curly braces. For now, I won't be putting anything inside of the body of the class, but later on we'll be going over fields and properties and methods. Then at that point, we will learn how to organize them properly within the class. But for now, just know that we need the reserved keyword class, and then we need the name for our class. The other thing that you are not seeing is the access specifier for our class. By default, it's internal. So if we say internal, this will actually be the same thing as not having it because by default it's internal. But we can actually change it and say public. And there's a couple of more access specifiers, but we'll be going over them later when we learn about encapsulation and object-oriented programming. For now, I will just tell you very quickly what public and internal do. Public basically says that the class can be accessed from within the simple calculator and also outside. So any other class that is in another project, so let's say we have another project besides the simple calculator, that could access our person class if it's public, or any other class that's within the simple calculator could also access the person class. But if we make this internal, then that would mean that only classes within simple calculator could access person class. But for now, let's keep it public. And we'll talk more about access specifiers later. Now let's actually go ahead and instantiate and create our object from our class. I will go ahead and say person1 equals new person. Let's take a look at the format. First, we have our name of the class. Then we have another name, which is the name for our custom type. But didn't we already create a name for a custom type? And that's a very good question. So just like with strings, for example, right? When we say string, and then, let me create one. When we say string, new text, and then we put the value inside, we say some text, right? Basically, we're doing the same thing with our custom type. We're just declaring another variable and instantiating an object, creating an object and putting that into our variable. But our variable has to have a compatible type. Remember, everything is strictly typed. So they have to have a compatible type. String holds textual data. Person holds a person type of data, which we just created. So we have person, which is the custom type. Then we have the name for our variable, just like with string. It says new text, right? Then we have the assignment operator, and the assignment operator takes the value and puts it inside of the variable that is of compatible type. In this case, it's textual. In this case, it's of type person. But one thing that's different is the new keyword. And the new keyword allows us to instantiate our custom type. In this case, it's person. So we use the reserved keyword new. And then we have our custom type name, which is person, and then we have parentheses, which allow us to instantiate the object, create the object from the blueprint. Okay? One other thing, we can actually copy paste this and change the name to person2. And this basically would create two person custom types. These two will have two separate spots in the memory. Person1 will have its own separate spot in the memory. Person2 will have its own separate spot in the memory. But they both came from the same blueprint. They both came from the same custom type. And these are just the basics of classes and objects. We'll be going more over all this when we go over object-oriented programming and encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism later down in the other sections.